Go.
Hi, my name is Shirley Tate, and I'm a student at Liberty University. My major is in Human Services with emphasis on Christian counseling. The title of my class that I'm taking is Human Services 508, and my instructor is named Kennard Sanders. Next slide. During this presentation, I will attempt to show how my listening skills are very important to communication. Next slide. My overarching goal for my life is to be a better listener and to communicate with others without judging the talker. Also, to see others' point of view through listening effectively. Through this class, I've learned to be an empathetic listener. This means having empathy towards the speaker's thoughts and not leaning towards my own. I don't want to just hear the words, but understand what the speaker is truly saying. This brings up mindful listening, a skill that is taught and necessary during communicating with others. Next slide. I am an employee at a school that requires our listening to be very attentive. Our personalities has to be people-oriented in order to reach our children. So when I found out that my personality type, I was surprised at some, but others, they needed to be worked on. My personality blend was CSI. This type described one to be passive, reserved, and friendly. All these characteristics are crucial when dealing with people. Next slide. Because of the passiveness, I very seldom initiated a conversation unless my environment was comfortable. However, through my role at work, sometimes I have to attain a more demanding personality. This caused a very uncomfortable feeling for me because it is all out of my character. Next slide. One of my barriers in communication is fear. Fear barrier is a barrier when people block emotions because they don't want to deal with the situation or the outcome. Sometimes it is hard to acknowledge the barrier and to communicate to others what the problem is due to the fear of the outcome. How I'm going to deal with this problem is to acknowledge that it is a problem and moving past it. Then also find a solution instead of dreading the problem. Next slide. Another barrier I have is the language barrier. This is learning how to talk to other people. My solution to this problem would be that there is value to how we talk to other people and also to ourselves. Next slide. My external distraction is interruptions and time pressure. Through all of this, I noticed that the most of this is poor management on my part. But because of my poor management, I was not able to hear things around me. And during my meetings, my thoughts were how to accomplish my next goal. This leads to an ineffective meeting because my listening skills were non-existent. My internal thoughts were that I never listened to myself. Through my personality traits, I would normally be aware of others and pleasing others, but my solution to this problem is to start listening to myself and being aware of my inner thoughts so that I may have more insight on my health, my job, and my spiritual life. Next slide. As said in the beginning, my overarching goal is to be a better listener. With this in mind, during a conflict, the end result can be positive or negative. How you perceive the conflict will determine the outcome of it. The first step to managing a problem is to acknowledge what it is. There should be concentration between the speaker and the listener in order to know what the conflict is. According to Robert and Nunn, listening is the response from your partner before you give an answer to the question. It is an important listening skill. This is where I would incorporate my mindful listening. This means I'm using my mind and my body to communicate to my partner. If there is still difficulty with solving a problem, I would try to assure them that I am listening. Next slide. According to Heather Case, there should be eye contact and avoid behavior that suggests that you're not really listening. So in conclusion, to become a better listener, I'll be more aware of what others are saying and not focusing on my own thought. I will also try not to take ownership of others' conflict at hand by voicing my thoughts before they finish. Once again, I am Shirley Tate, and this is my interpersonal communication project, and the next slide is my reference.